we want to make sure that we take a long-term planning approach and we invest in planning. And that's why we're introducing the master plan. And the only person who is better placed to deliver that master plan to you is none other than Minister Sisulu. Minister, over to you.
Ladies and gentlemen, as I'm doing this, I'm reminded of, I've been asking the DG to lower this because he's much taller than everybody. A few years ago, as Minister of Defense, I went to visit one of our ships out in Venezuela, I'm not sure, and on the sea there. And so I was adjusting the microphone. Of course, there's translation there, and so I said to the person who was helping me translate, I just want to know that I am audible. Unfortunately for both of us, the translation comes out, Minister wants to know if she is edible. If you heard that, then it means that the microphone is in the right place. Invited guests, partners of the Department of Water and Sanitation, members of the media, and all of you special guests that have come here to listen to us launch the master plan. Thank you very much for joining us this morning to launch the National Master Plan. I would like to extend our gratitude to those in the media who continuously highlight the importance of water, raising awareness on drought and the challenges that we face. A special thank you also to all our stakeholders who participated in making sure that today we're able to put together this master plan. We have taken note of the concerns of people like the lady who was speaking from Hammanskraal, because this happens quite often in our country that we do not have the kind of quality water across the country. We've taken all the inputs, including the ones from Hammanskraal, into this document that we're going to present to you now. What you will leave with when you're done with me is a document which indicates National Water and Sanitation Master Plan. However, today we are launching the action plans that we will be taking in relation to only water. We're hoping we're going to have a second bite with yourselves, and we will be dealing with sanitation and all of those very interesting ideas that come out of sanitation, and especially the innovations that are available to us, so that we concentrate on that aspect as well, because trying to even out this huge department would mean that we'd be sitting here for more than 3 hours, and that would not be suitable for either yourselves and myself. We're therefore grateful to you for being here, because it is out of your questions and out of your further contributions, and we will be taking contributions via SMS, that we will be able to ensure that our planning going forward is what we would like to put out to the country, which has waited so long for us to deliver this. We were joined, and I'm very grateful, by Minister Patricia de Lille, Minister of Public Works and Infrastructure, and the importance of her presence here is to launch the highlights and the synergy between ourselves, Public Works and Infrastructure, and the Department of Water Affairs and Sanitation. And I'd like to say that in her capacity, this has nothing to do with water, but in her capacity as Minister of Public Works, she has graciously handed over to me the most beautiful pieces of land to put my housing units for the working class. Fortunately, she's not standing for any elected position, so it will not be used against her. But I'm very grateful for her support, and I'm very grateful for her being with us here right now. In preparation for the launch of this document, we have met a range of stakeholders from the agricultural community to the business sector to NGOs and most importantly communities such as ones from Hammarskraal. I spent the whole of yesterday afternoon in Butterworth with a very, very angry community that is experiencing the bitter end of the drought, and they experience it in the and you can feel it in the air, you hear it when they speak to you. There is no protocol in those parts of the world. So we made sure that when we put this together, we have those people in mind as well. We've also visited a number of key projects to understand what the challenges are, and we've worked on recommendations from practitioners in the field of water provision. We've also engaged the Human Settlements family at Minmac and our water boards represented here by Ren Water and the CEO and many other players and water users across the country and internationally. As Minister Delil has indicated, and as we often indicate to you, we are a water scarce country. We have one of the lowest rainfall averages in the world, that coupled with very uneven distribution. The situation is predicted to get even worse on the back of climate change, and as has been explained, we also have to cope with a difficult geography with 2/3 of the country on flat or semi-desert areas. Our water security can only be guaranteed by a combination of what we call green smart technology and a great game plan, and a know-how and superb human capital in the water and sanitation sector. Great research and information systems. We answered the CEO of our research company to come and talk to you about what we're doing. And the reason why we chose him is he does not ever talk about his commission without telling us it's the best in the world. I was surprised today it did not come out that way. Please, a round of applause for that. The master plan which we have here outlines a series of very urgent steps to be taken and implemented by all stakeholders in the water sector in order to address systematic and infrastructural challenges and secure continuous and uninterrupted supply of water for both community and the business sector. The document also outlines immediate interventions we will be making to respond to, amongst others, challenges of infrastructure and infrastructure investment and maintenance. Capacity of our municipalities, I want to underscore that. The capacity of our municipalities is a very important element in what we're trying to do, because those are the front line of our delivery problems. And it became very clear to me when I was in Butterworth yesterday that we need to do something about reinforcing the capacity of our municipalities. But later on in the plan, we will also offer other possibilities that we are thinking of to ensure that we have a very direct contact with our people, and that direct contact is an efficient one. We want to make sure that we are giving our farmers better capacity to ensure that the water license use certificates that they were waiting for are fast-tracked, and make sure that the capacity of the department and its agencies is also one that is sensitive to our communities and also to the business sector. Both have participated in preserving our water resources and investing in them. Our people have participated in investing in our water resources, so too has the business sector, especially the agricultural sector, and we're very grateful to them for that. Water is a catalyst for both economic development and job creation. The President and all envoys have continued to lobby investors to come and invest in South Africa. As a water and sanitation sector, our job is to guarantee not only for the short term, but also for the very long term, the availability of water to assure investors that South Africa is open for business. And being open for business also means that our water taps will be open for them. We also have to provide the same guarantee to our local business, big and small, and especially our farmers. It is for this reason that we are launching this master plan in this community present here today. As you well know, the Constitution of South Africa provides that everyone has a right of access to sufficient food and water, and an environment that is not harmful to its health and well-being. While we have made significant progress in reducing inequalities in this sector, and having, during the period from 1994 to 2019, achieved a number of milestones of which we are very proud of, with 64% of the population provided with access to basic water supply services and basic sanitation provided to sanitation. However, we still have a long way to go. We still have children, young children, drowning in pit toilets. We have a long way to go. We still have the lady from Hammanskraal complaining about water. We still have a long way to make sure that these unacceptable levels of inequality and poverty do not impact on the constitutional right of our people. The master plan builds on policies that have been successful in the past, and we revisit and revise them to make them applicable for today, together with the new technology that we are gaining on a regular basis and from our own experiences as well, supported by the innovative technology solutions that you have seen as you came in out there in the exhibition. I'd advise you before you leave to go that way, if only to just say thank you to them, because these are people hard at work trying to make sure we can deliver better. But the solutions that they're providing us are a very important aspect of our work. The amount of water available per person is decreasing as the population grows, and the future availability is uncertain, which is why we need to constantly raise consciousness to preserve what we have. South Africa has an arid and semi-arid climate with an average annual rainfall of 465 millimeters, half the world's average. Should I repeat that? We have the kind of rainfall that averagely is half what the world is provided with. So we really need to make sure that we look after our water. Producing a total annual water wastage and loss of approximately 49 million cubic meters wasted annually, the cost of which has been calculated at something like 7 billion rands. The combined storage capacity of large dams is in the order of 31 million cubic meters. There is inequitable access to water and sanitation services, and the deteriorating safety and reliability of these services is threatening South Africa's ability to achieve our Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is to ensure water and sanitation for all. There is not enough water for our country, and that is industrialized with the high population growth. The demand simply outweighs the supply. These shortcomings are impacting negatively on job creation, economic growth, and the well-being of everyone in South Africa. To date, there is still over 3 million people without access to basic water supply services, while only 64% of our households have access to reliable water supply. With respect to the bulk water resources on which the country depends, it is projected that demand will grow by 17% in 2030. This is only if Minister Patricia de Lille and ourselves work closely together and make sure that we are able to put the necessary infrastructure. Demand growth is constrained by what it is that we have. However, we're putting policy to make sure that the necessary interventions are coupled with the necessary structures, and that will make sure that we are prepared for a mixed development approach. We're faced with a backlog of challenges we need to address urgently if we're going to achieve water security for community use and also for business and economic development. We need to address our own insufficient investment in water infrastructure and inadequate management of the water sources that we have. When Minister de Lille was standing here and talking about the committee that she chairs, I had hoped, and one of the reasons why I had invited her here, I thought she was going to pledge some resources to us and say, I gave But anyway, perhaps before she goes, she might come. She might have worked out the figures and come and pledge some money. This is also made worse by a combined lack of skills and specialists such as water engineers, scientists, hydrologists, geohydrologists, and resource economists. One consequence is that recurrent droughts driven by climate variation are not adequately managed, while on the other hand, water quality continues to deteriorate. The master plan introduces a number of measures, as you will see when you get it. It is a program of action for the water and sanitation sector, but remains largely a plan for the country in addressing both water, and in the next session, it will be both water and sanitation for communities and economic development. We now need to focus our attention and resources to maintaining our current infrastructure, secure and guarding our water resources, and most essentially educating our people on the necessity of looking after their rivers. It was not until I became Minister of Water Affairs that I realized how much water is lost in my bathroom by the dripping tap that is in my bathroom. It's been dripping since Minister of Public Service and Public Works is here. It's been dripping since I got into that house 15 years ago. I have been reporting it every week. It is still dripping, Minister Patricia Tiller. I invite you to my bathroom, Minister Patricia Tiller. Here are some key strategic objectives of the plan that we have. 1, to structure the department to make it fit for purpose. Eliminate wastage and any loss due to corruption and mismanagement of resources. Of course, I will get into that later. You do know that we have been labeled by Treasury and the Auditor General as almost bankrupt and very wasteful. We need to do something about that. We need to do something very urgently about that. 2, we need to address the water and sanitation goals of the country as envisaged in the National Development Plan and Sustainable Development Goals, adopted in the United Nations as member states, and in particular, the African Union's Agenda 2063. 3, we need to support and give the President's Economic Stimulus and Recovery Plan and give priority to the 5 broad parts that were announced at that particular event. 1 is the implementation and enhancing of economic reforms. 2, the reprioritization of public spending to support job creation. 3, the establishment of an infrastructure fund, for which we've already made a bid through the minister here, who will declare it before she goes. D, addressing urgent and pressing matters in education, health, and investing in municipal and social infrastructure improvement. The last one very important for us. To give, in fact, to initiatives and programs announced in the State of the Nation by the President in 2019, specifically the Private-Public Growth Initiative. The President highlighted that our new approach to infrastructure development is based on stronger partnership between ourselves, in the public sector, and the private sector. That is why I am very glad that you're all here, because you understand that we have a joint responsibility. It includes a special package of financial and institutional measures to boost construction and prioritize water infrastructure through a more efficient use of budget money. Now, the immediate interventions for long-term water security by all stakeholders. As water sector leader, the department will create the conditions in which all stakeholders can play their part. We have prioritized programs of strategic action that will lay the foundation for the water sector to overcome its challenges and ensure a water-secure future for all of us. Supporting inclusive development across the country, responding to business needs to enable economic development and job creation. The department must redefine itself and lead the sector in implementing all of these initiatives speedily. The department must identify its new role as an enabler, facilitator and regulator of the sector. It must be in the DNA of the department to intervene and lead the sector and the stakeholders to solve community and business challenges. I'll give you all the telephone numbers of the DG and all top management so that if you have a problem, pick up the phone. Minister said it should be in your DNA to intervene timelessly. Most of the critical aspects of executing the master plan will be to ensure that there is leadership to carry out the master plan. Not just leadership, but ethical leadership. Ethical leadership. This is what I'd like to associate myself with. Commitment and professionalism. The Vaal Dam project, for example, will require a project management team consisting of highly skilled senior experts and government officials in place by the beginning of 2020. There, I would need commitment and professionalism so that I do not get to Parliament and every day I am asked, what are you doing about the Vaal Dam problem? No, not the dam with an N, but the dam in the... We will prioritize capacitating municipalities through a stream of experts and professionals who will assist municipalities to discharge their responsibility effectively and also progressively help them build required capacity. In collaboration with National Treasury, the financial position of the department is being regularized. It is now necessary to focus on the core mandate of the department, which is to ensure water security for all South Africans. The Auditor General has declared the department bankrupt, and we need to review our processes to do things differently, ethically, in order to account correctly to the country. The department currently has to perform a variety of tasks, which include 1, planning, developing, and operating the major infrastructure dams once we have got the support of Minister Patricia de Lille. Making sure that the pipelines are working, and etc. Provide reliable bulk water supply to major systems supporting the large urban and industrial areas of the country and even the rural areas. We have now underway dams such as Zumzumvubu, Umkomazi, Giyane, and Hazelmere on our radar screens, and we're doing something about it, which will be clearer to you later on. The department has to ensure that it regulates the use and the protection of the country's natural and water resources like rivers, lakes, and underground. Now, in this regard, we have decided that we're going to use some of the personnel that we trained in our water leaks program to be an extension of the work that we're doing to make sure that we clean up, we desilt our lakes on a regular basis. We clean up the rivers together with environmental affairs and make sure that we have better quality water in the end. Now, some of the people who were doing this job were called SDUs. Now, coming from the background that I come from, SDUs would not have been the appropriate term for it. Now, for those who might be lost in the translation, SDUs around the period that we were fighting apartheid in this country were those units that were called self-defense units. So we thought, no, let's focus on water as opposed to weapons. And so these are our national response team. And these are people who will be out there making sure that our rivers are desilted. We were with the president in Limpopo a few days ago, and he was reporting to us on an imbizo that he had had with farmers. And he was saying, Minister, the farmers are complaining that we are not desilting, we're not paying particular attention to desilting the dams. And when the rains come, the rains are predicted to come late in December. When the rains come, we will not have the yield that we need to have. So we're going to deploy our people out there to make sure that we are immediately responding to the complaints of the farmers out in Limpopo and go and desilt their dams. My department has to make sure that it intervenes in municipalities to perform their constitutional responsibility of providing water supply. We have a solution which we will discuss in Cabinet and come back to you if we get a positive response. response in relation to the accountability and the professionalism that we get in municipalities. My department has a responsibility of overseeing and supporting a family of organizations, including water boards and other water agencies that undertake specialized services in their regions, as well as the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, a specialist financial agency dedicated to raising finance for large, economically viable water resource developments. The program of action that we have for the Water and Sanitation Master Plan focuses on the 3 I's that are recognized as the core of water security. That is the institutions. Our institutions is what we're focusing on. Our institutions would be the water boards and the catchment areas, etc. The next I is investment. Investment in infrastructure funding, and that's why we have our friend here with us. Please prioritize us, dear Minister Delil. Then I will not repeat my problem with my bathroom in public again. Please prioritize us. And the other one is information. To strengthen the information system and networks to be more inclusive within the South African context, we want to make sure that South Africans are more protective and more proactive in safeguarding water security. Water should be everyone's business, because water is everyone's business. It is everyone's business when it is not available. It should be everyone's business when it is there, so that we can secure it for other people as well. Now we have a process of now that we're in the process of distributing land, there is an interministerial committee in which we sit. It is headed by Deputy President Mabuza, and we've gone a long way in making sure that we can give our farmers land on which they are able to find sustainable work for themselves. Now that we are carrying out this and going through with the legislative reform, it has been clear to us that unless we do something about the redistribution of water, there is very little yield we're going to get out of this particular process. Because without water, farming is absolutely nothing. Without water, farming would be absolutely nothing. Ah, there's a farmer. And we want to make sure that we can provide as much support as we can to especially emerging black farmers. We do know that there has been a complaint about us around the issuing of water use licenses, which has been one of our biggest challenges because of the length of time that it has taken us in processing these licenses. I've been reliably informed by the department that we have cut down the time we spend in dealing with these permits to an incredible turnaround time. What I wanted to do now is show you a video clip. It will not be like the ones you've just been seeing. A video clip of an advert that we want to put out and announce the new timeframes that you can expect from us. We passed this through Cabinet and they approved it. They applauded it, actually. So I would like you to look at it, and perhaps you too will be able to applaud what it is that we are aiming at. Here, the advert is in reference to the fact that in the first meeting that we presented to Cabinet about what we're doing about water, the President indicated to us, you know, Minister, it took 3 years for your department to give me my, the water user license. And I thought it ended there. My embarrassment, I was very, very red. But then it was made worse when Minister Tito Mboweni repeated it in public in his budget vote and says, you know what, there are some departments here who are so laid back, they take 3 years to provide the President with the necessary water user license. We'll probably play it at the end, but I will read it out to you. It reads thus: Mr. President, we're terribly sorry it took us 3 years to provide you with a water use license. We did not know you were going to be the President. Now that we know it takes us 49 days, we will not be caught off guard. When we presented this to Cabinet, they gave us a round of applause. Can you give us a round of applause? From 3 years, we're now producing this license in 49 days. Yes, 49 days. It helped us to have a president who pricked our conscience. 49 days is remarkable. And over and above that, we want to indicate to you that this is a standard that we're laying for ourselves. So any farmers there is the head of the farming unit there, we will our outer period is 49 days. But then we would like you to understand that this is after everything else has been done. By the time it comes to us, it'll take 49 days. And we would like to get a report from you if we do not stick to the 49 days. And if we don't, we will make sure that those who are responsible bear the brunt of your wrath. So there is our commitment to those people who will be given land. We will be providing them with sufficient water. We will be providing them with water use licenses should they need them in the shortest possible time. The immediate institutional change to get back on track on the long road to water security. The effective management of the department's large, complex set of activities spread right across the country has proved to be very challenging for a single national organization. For this reason, it has long been proposed that some of these activities should be delegated to new specialized organizations. Of whatever nature, we're still thinking about them, under the oversight of the Minister and the National Department. These will focus on key tasks such as development and operation of major infrastructure systems in collaboration with the Minister of Infrastructure, the regulation of the use and protection of water resources, as well as support for municipalities that are not able to comply with their service provision mandate. To this end, I must appreciate the support and enthusiasm of my human settlements MECs. At the last MINMEC that I had with them, they said to me, Minister, you know, from yourself, the conduit of water to our people is the municipality. Why don't you channel this through us as MECs? Because in that way, there is proper accountability because we have to account to you and there is support for the municipalities. I said to them, I need to talk to Minister of Kokta, and if she is smiling, then we will have a better discussion around that. But what we're thinking of doing is making a proposal that we restructure government, that we have an intermediate provincial level to ensure that all those things that are required of us, either by the Auditor General or our communities, are attended to. And going out to Butterworth today, I can see that the municipality out there does not have sufficient person power or resources to be able to deal with the problem that is out there in Butterworth. I've seen it myself. We will finalize the establishment of catchment management agencies at local level. Okay, there's somebody who's responsible for this, the catchment agencies at local level, and we will make sure that legislation that enables that is ready and in place early next year. Amen. I've directed the Director General that all interventions we are announcing here today must be prioritized and implemented at the earliest possible time. And he must redesign his office and the operations of the department to achieve that. There will be a continuation of the processes to transform the water boards into regional utilities that can act. Oh, another round of applause. I think at this rate, if I had a collection box, I would be quite a wealthy minister because we need some money in this department. There'll be the transformation of water boards into regional utilities that can act as water service providers. And if we agree to the proposal made by the MECs, then the MECs will have the necessary political authority to work together with yourselves. In the case of Gauteng, the water boards have worked very well with the municipalities in maintaining our infrastructure, and we're very grateful to that. In the Eastern Cape, we have one water board, And there are areas in the Eastern Cape that are beyond the reach and the mandate of the Water Board, making it very difficult for those areas to function maximally. We're looking at restructuring this so that we have water boards, regional water boards that can oversee the entire region and make sure that there's accountability. We will be working with the necessary ministers to formalize these relationships, and if there's any legislative amendment that is required, we will be getting onto that. The second thrust of the master plan is planning infrastructure investments to address the country's strategic water challenges, and the minister here has indicated that she is giving us top priority in dealing with this. If we're going to attract investment into our country, we'd better make sure that our infrastructure is solid. And our water infrastructure is absolutely essential for our industries to run. The third thrust of this infrastructure matter is that we want to ensure that as we work in securing our local investors and local businesses, we're prepared to adapt from the old document into the new document that we have now. When you get it, you will understand what it is that we are talking about. And we would like to sell this document because we want it to be part and parcel of our investment drive to say to our investment, South Africa is open for business and we have the necessary resources and everything that you will need to conduct your business. We are going to expedite and review all current infrastructure projects with a plan to complete them soon, and we are also finalizing a plan for the development of a national infrastructure project management to ensure timely completion and mainstream of water security and large urban economic centers. You've all heard about the building of dams in Mzimvubu and Giyani. When I got into this department, I asked my advisors to give me advice on Mzimvubu because the president was going to the Eastern Cape and he had asked me, what am I going to do? What am I going to say to the people about Mzimvubu? I said, Mr. President, I've heard of Mzimvubu, but I don't know I'll be able to point out where it is. So I got my advisors to come together and they all gave me their piece of advice. And I was amazed that actually the concept of Mzimvubu was started in 1958, long before most of you were ever conceptualized. In 1950. In 1958, the previous government had come to a conclusion that they needed a dam in Mzimvubu. Up to now, we have not moved. However, when we were in KwaZulu-Natal, the president indicated that we are now putting the first phase of Mzimvubu in place. The first phase is to make sure that we clear the place and make it possible for the huge infrastructure instruments that are going to be used there to be able to access that area. So a round of applause for Mzimvubu, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all of the things that I'm saying here are in the document and I don't want to belabor the point. I have asked the DG to change the program around in such a way that you here are able to ask questions and we are able to give you some responses. The idea had been initially that we would be dealing with the media, but I am certain that most of you here might have questions and might want answers right here. So I will stop here, DG, and make sure that we have that space before I come back and conclude, that space to interact with yourselves and be able to answer burning issues. If it had not been the president complaining about the water licenses, it would not be 49 days. So if it had not been for an applause there for black farmers, we would probably still be plodding along. So we would be very keen to hear from you what it is that you think we can do better. And by the time you read this, you will see that we've either covered it in the plan, or if we have not, we will give you a second version of this master plan. For now, thank you very much for your attention.